HQ presents The Stationmaster's Daughter by Kathleen Mcgurl, read by Sarah Cullum and John Hopkins. Prologue. For a moment, he was frozen, unable to move, unable to react to what had just happened. Time stood still, and he stood with it, not seeing, not hearing, doing nothing. And then, as his senses returned, he registered screams of horror, followed by the sight of that broken and twisted body lying at the foot of the stairs. How had it happened? Annie was screaming, lung-bursting screams of pain and terror. His instinct was to rush to her, gather her up and hold her. But would that make things worse? There was no going back now. No returning to how things used to be before today, before all the horrible, life-changing events of the day. It was all over now. The screams continued, and he knew that the next minutes would alter his life forever. He knew, too, that even without the broken body, the screams, the fall, his life had already changed irrevocably. The door to a future he had only dared dream of had been slammed shut in his face. He allowed himself a moment's grief for what had been and for what might have yet been, and then he shook himself into action, hurrying down the stairs to deal with it all. Not to put it right, that wasn't possible, but to do his best. For Annie.
Chapter 1. Tilly, present day. It was her dad's voice that Tilly Thompson could hear, outside the room she'd been sleeping in. Her dad. What was he doing here? She rolled over and buried her face in her Disney princess pillow. She didn't want to see him. No, that wasn't true. She did want to see him. She wanted nothing more than to be scooped up in his strong arms and for him to take all the pain away. But she didn't want him to see her like this. Broken, sick, deep in a pit of despair. No parent should see their child in this sort of state, even if that child was 39. There was a tap at the door, and then Joe entered. Joe was Tilly's best friend, the person who'd saved her life and given her a place to stay. She'd moved her 2 little daughters into one room to make space for Tilly after she was discharged from hospital. "Tills, your dad's here." Joe stepped into the room, her face taut with worry. "I know you said you didn't want to worry him, but listen, mate, he's your dad. So I phoned him. Don't be cross at me. Let him help." Before Tilly could summon the energy to answer, Joe stepped aside and Tilly's dad, Ken, entered the room. He looked stressed, much older than when she'd last seen him. That would be her fault, she supposed. "Hey, Dad," she managed to croak. "Oh, pet, what's up? Joe said you were in a bad way." He looked about for a place to sit down and pulled out a small stool upholstered in pink to perch on. "I'll, leave you two to talk," Joe said. "Did you want a cup of tea, Ken?" "Thanks, Joe. I'd love one." Joe closed the door quietly behind her. Tilly took a deep, shuddering breath and closed her eyes. The pain on her father's face was too much to bear. "What's up?" he said again, his voice hoarse. He was fighting back tears, she realized. "Just all got a bit much for me, I suppose," she whispered. She couldn't tell him the whole truth. Not now. Not yet. "You should have talked to me. I'd do anything for you, you know that, pet. Joe said you were having a breakdown of some sort. God, when I heard—" Tilly didn't want to think about how he'd have felt. A pang of guilt coursed through her, adding to the pain, pushing her deeper into that dark pit of misery. "Sorry, Dad, I didn't want you to be worried." "Of course I worry. Just want my girl to be happy again." She forced a weak smile to her face and reached for his hand. Her lovely dad, just trying to do what was best.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?